I can't hear you, Sam.
That's a good thing.
He's still on mute, Sam. Sam, you're on mute. He's not listening.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just mucking around with other screens. It's just started now. It's all good.
Okay, perfect.
And Spacebar doesn't work on a bloody Mac to unmute.
Oh,
Which
well,
is
that's
really annoying.
interesting.
I was holding the spacebar down and I could hear you going, you're not unmuting. I'm like, ah.
That's all good. All right, we might get the meeting underway. Firstly, good to see some people in their jerseys. I thought Andrew Brincat suggested, I thought it might be a bit of a fun thing to do, you know, get the spirits going. I think we've got a few Roosters fans there, and Manly, Dad's got his Tigers on, and rabbits, dogs. We've got a bit of everything on tonight's meeting. So being almost final season, might as well. Keep it interesting. We might have some themes possibly going forward if we're on Zoom for a little while, make it interesting. Where's Ben? Did you want to do a sales table update?
Yeah, there's not too much to say. I did hear that there will be no more seed heads this year. So whatever we've got, that's it. And from looking at what we have is not much at all. Some products are starting to come in, and I'm hoping to try and get out this weekend and possibly pack some orders. So I know a few people have been waiting for a little while, and I'm back out on the road, so I might have a bit of time this weekend to get it done.
All good. Thank you for your efforts, Ben.
All good.
And Brian, the secretary's update.
Yeah, not much to report, Maddie. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Spacebar works on my non-Mac, Sam. I think we've got something like another 15 odd new members. There's been a bit of correspondence about some of the issues we're going to talk about tonight, mainly constitution and the issues with regard to registration. Other than that, pretty much a quiet month.
All good. Good to see we're still getting lots of new members, even though we're on Zoom and can't really do in-person things at the moment, like sales and things. So it's good to see. Sam, did you want to do a treasurer's report? Sam,
Sorry, I was holding the spacebar again. It doesn't work on a Mac. So I got two computers going here. One's Mac, one's Windows, and the bloody keys that you use are different on each one. And I kept using the wrong keyboard as well. I've been doing it all week. But anyway, I'm used to having a Windows laptop as well as desktop. But what am I doing? The treasurer's report.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just over $28,000 in the account. And that's all fine. Obviously, there's a few more because there's a magazine that should have just arrived in the last day or two to everybody. So that's still to pay for. But I mean, you know, I know there's a couple of new members and whatever that Brian's saying, but really, you know, given there's no meetings or big events on, no major changes. And I'm in the process of preparing the financials for last year, ready for next month's AGM.
Perfect. Thank you. Did you want to go straight into the government update as well while we're on the topic?
Yep, I'll try to be brief because I noticed the National Registration Scheme, which is probably the big one, is it's got its own mention. Since we last met, there's a review by in Victoria. We're looking at native animal licensing on the agenda. The conservation regulator, which is basically the police down there for this sort of thing. For some reason, they want a submission now, so we've got the Wildlife Act being reviewed, which is the actual act itself. The people who are sort of the compliance and enforcement for that act, for some God unknown reason, and sort of the first thing that I put in it was, well, why this seems ridiculous to be doing a review of what you do when the act that governs your whole life is being reviewed. So anyway, that's gone on, and there's also obviously there's an Animal Welfare Act review going on in Victoria as well. So it's all happening down there. I won't go into the detail, but if you're interested in what we put in the submission, it's all on the ccbfa.org.au website, all the stuff about that. In terms of New South Wales native animal licensing, there has been one item to report. You might remember we put in we're waiting for the thing to be passed, obviously, by the minister. And Atticus Fleming promised me back in, well, it was on the afternoon of 30th of the 6th this year, that he would have a brief to the office by the end of the week. That didn't happen. No surprise there, really. We, via Animal Care Australia, had put in a GIPA request, essentially a freedom of information request for all information. Not all information came back, in our view. And so we appealed, and that appeal went back to National Parks. That's now been responded to, basically with, look, there was a few other bits of information that they returned, but nothing of significance. And the good news that nothing of significance came back is that in the meetings that we've all been to, and Brian particularly will be aware of this, and meetings ever since those in-person meetings, we've been told that there is significant opposition to, or from welfare organisations that we presume was RSPCA and Wires. Well, nothing, no correspondence has gone to the Minister's office. No correspondence has gone to National Parks and Wildlife Service office at all. Not one piece of correspondence was returned from GIPA that indicated any opposition to it at all. So the upshot of that is that, well, obviously it is only the bureaucrats within national parks that are holding this up. It's a load of bullshit what they've been saying to myself, and I think Brian's probably heard, I'll name him, the Director of Conservation, Richard Kingswood, say it. He certainly said it to me, and I've got it in emails over and over again. We do a GIPA request and they can't manage to find one letter from anybody saying that there's any opposition. And I mean, I know that just before the report went, I personally spoke to the head of Wires, I spoke to the CEO of RSPCA New South Wales. Both actually said to me, look, it's not perfect, but we agree with it. We agree with it, and we want to see it all done. So that's sort of good news. We haven't, I guess, picked up a stink yet, because there's just other stuff going on, but we shall move on that in due course. The New South Wales bird sale code, I can't remember, was that already, I think it was already passed, wasn't it, our last meeting? I forget the timing of these things. But anyway, it's been passed, and but it doesn't come into force until September 2022, so 1 year away. So there's plenty of time. We'll hear more about that later. There'll be media releases, all sorts of stuff come out shortly. I'll leave that because that's to do with the other thing. In terms of ACA, big success with Pets and Strata. That's now passed into law. So any owner's corporation, it's now null and void and illegal for them to have an outright ban on pets. They have to allow them in. There are certain, obviously they can, people got to not let their dogs in public areas and all that sort of stuff, and can't have them barking and da 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 da. But they can't have it. You cannot ban pets in Strata anymore in New South Wales. So that was a huge success, and a fair bit of actually the meeting that I sat in, both Michael and I, with the final drafters of that of those new regulations, got through, which was good, because there are a few checks and balances that needed to be in there that weren't, and a few, the way that they were sort of had some of it worded was open to abuse, I guess, both just in terms of fairness. So that was, I mean, it's terrific that ACA's got that level of reach, that that we were contacted, sort of literally as they were finalising it, to sort of run it by us and get some feedback on the fine details of how they were wording it. So that was pretty good. Remember that dogs, and it was cats as well, but the mainly dogs breeding thing over compliance. There's a sort of an interim code that's been released, and a bit of what ACA, it's probably not perfect, bit of what ACA indicated is in there. So there's a new breeding code out, which for the time being, if RSPCA go to people's houses, at least gets rid of, you don't have to have the vet's phone number on the fridge, when you only own 2 dogs and it's in your house. All that sort of crap, and the fence heights and all that have been adjusted slightly, but they'll be fixed properly, and the whole problem with right of entry will be fixed as the new Act is put together. And that's the final one. There is a discussion paper out now on animal welfare law in New South Wales. I haven't got the link right here, but I've had many meetings over the last few weeks as Vice President of ACA. We've met with Adam Marshall, the Minister for Agriculture's office, with his Chief of Staff a number of times. We've met, and some of these are actually on their request. Shadow Minister Mick Veitch, who was the Ag Minister when Labor was back in, and probably will be if they come back in again. He requested to meet with us, and we had a chat about it with him. We met with everyone's best mate, Emma Hurst, from the Animal Justice Party as well, and also met with Mark Benasiak from the Shooters Fishers, and as well as a couple of meetings with DPI staff, including Kim Filmer, the Chief Animal Welfare Officer, and Clem, I forget her other name, but anyway, she's the sort of chief in terms of rewriting the Act. In a nutshell, it's all of the new Act, or what they're saying in the discussion paper is, I guess, more of the same. A little bit of a disappointment. Not surprising though. They're kind of just sticking around the edges. They haven't really taken on board the big picture sort of. We wanted it sort of, I suppose, if I can generalise it, instead of it just the RSPCA just going in as the police force and trying to catch people for doing the wrong thing and spending all the money on that. And of course, there has to be money spent on that. I'm not disagreeing with that. We wanted them to refocus a fair bit of the funding, I guess, towards do some research into raising animal welfare standards across the state. So more an education sort of a thing, put more into that so that people are just, and also via clubs too. Because it's kind of what we do, isn't it? Is to just teach people how to look after animals properly. And therefore improve animal welfare standards, slowly, incrementally, everywhere. Because at the moment, it's pretty clear, RSPCA New South Wales, of course, some of the people they nab, fair enough, you want them to nab them, but they're only touching the tip of the iceberg, and they only ever will. They're never going to really get their head around the problem. And so a better use of funds would be to direct the funding to improving animal, just get it as a society, raise the societal norm that you care for your animals and you look after them. You don't bloody kick the dog when you get upset, and you know what I mean, that sort of thing. But sadly, that's been look, it might, they're going with a lot of that'll be in the policy stage and all that. But if it's not in the Act, it ain't going to happen. That's the way I see it. Anyway, I think that's it for government stuff. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. And then Steve, did you want to discuss the black-throated program, what we're up to now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do a quick update. So the project is still very young in its infancy. We officially kicked off our Facebook page last month. And that's been pretty interesting. Actually, we've used social media fairly well so far. So we've reached about 45,000 people, and we've sort of targeted that reach into what was the former range of the black-throated finch in New South Wales. So that's sort of Inverell, Tenterfield, Armidale, even across to sort of Moree, Narrabri area, that sort of triangle, I guess. I think there's about 530 people that currently like the page. So, in sort of 3 weeks, I think that's pretty good. We've had a bit of media exposure as well. ABC Northwest contacted us to to talk about the species and what we were hoping to achieve, and I guess to try and get some community engagement stuff happening, which is really the first part of the project, is about, you know, trying to do some community awareness, make people think about the birds they're seeing, whether they're driving down a country road or going for a walk, or, you know, getting, I guess, reconnecting with nature, but also taking opportunities of thousands of people's eyes moving around the place. And from that, we've had a lot of direct contact made with us. We've had probably, I think, 25 direct messages on the Facebook page reporting that they've seen black-throated finches. Now, most pretty much all are chestnut-breasted mannikins, which we half suspect. You know, as you're driving along a car, you see a flock of black, brown, and grey birds, and you know, you might automatically think you've seen a black-throated finch. We've got a couple of really interesting leads, though. So combined with that, we've directly contacted about 80 plus councillors from all the council regions in our area. So, you know, councillors, deputy and mayors to let them know about the project, as well as land care groups. So a few land care groups have reached out and are pretty keen to chat, particularly in terms of how they might be able to help with funding, but also general participation by their land care members. We've got 2 sightings that really we need to follow up. One is being very, but to take us there if we come up. So that's very positive. The other one is trying to get some photos to show us. So, but they live on the just north of Inverell, and they're pretty confident they've had a small flock turn up in their yard this year. So who knows? You know, it's still very early days, but the most exciting thing, I think, is that it's getting people thinking about black-throated finches. Of course, there's been lots of publicity in Queensland recently with some of the monitoring that's happening in the Galilee Basin at the Adani coal mine site, which I talked about a couple of months ago. And we're another part of the project. We're exploring doing a big black-throated finch mural in the town of Inverell. Got a lot of interest in that. You know, if anything, we're going to stick this bird in people's faces, and we know that when all the grey nomads in the caravans can travel again, they love seeing silo art and big wall art murals. So we'll put the black-throated finch on the map, whether it's there or not. So we've got a couple of potential funding streams we're looking at for that as well. So, so in all, it's ticking along quite nicely.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going great, particularly only to have launched within the last few weeks. That's great to get that reach.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, very pleased.
I guess it shows the power of social media, that in just a few weeks, you can have people already communicating that they might be seeing some in the wild as well. So that's crazy.
Yeah. Look, I'm very cautious of that, and obviously I don't want to get too excited. But you know, a species that is presumed extinct in the wild in New South Wales is, you know, if we can find some evidence that they're not, well, that's great too, and we can start to target actions on how we might be able to protect them a little better. But from the first standpoint is if a species is presumed extinct, from a legislative perspective or a funding perspective, it's pretty hard to actually implement any change, or any sort of extra level of protection. So if we can make that status critically endangered or something else, then of course things can start to happen. But look, either way, and probably the other exciting development is that, you know, and that's mostly because of that existing relationship FSA has, is with Macquarie University. So Simon Griffiths is pretty keen to come on board with, you know, basically as a project partner, and he's also exploring opportunities for Australian Research Council funding, and how we can look at, I guess, potentially longer term, whether there is a viable option of actually reintroducing black-throated finch into the wild as a longer term prospect, and how we might be able to do that scientifically. So that's a very exciting development as well, and one we look forward to continuing to nurture.
Yes, it's definitely very exciting to see like the development of it. Sam just mentioned that Simon might be on the chat. Did you want to mention anything about the project? Maybe.
Sorry.
It's not there. You there, Simon?
Oh, you're on mute, Simon.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's on mute.
Now I'm not. I was watching quietly. I was just going to observe. That's my best thing to do most of the time. I think just let Sam and Steve speak. But yeah, look, it's positive and great work that Steve's done so far. He's been, really pushing Sam and I. But it's good to be, have someone helping to motivate us. We're all very motivated, but as we know that these sort of things we've tried before and ended up headbutting the wall a lot. So hence the launch of this project with the current partners away from government, trying to work on getting some things happening ourselves. And I think there's certainly some positive signs, like Steve said, not getting ahead of ourselves and thinking that we've got any proof that they do exist. But the biggest thing is that awareness, getting people talking about it in these areas. And Sam's done a great job contacting different councils, and Steve's doing his bit with his expertise in environmental side of things and contacts there. So I think that it's going to be a great team effort. I'm really, really excited that we've got great support and the people on board that are on board. So I think it's a great start, and it's hopefully one of many projects to come over the next years, 5, 10, 20 years, who knows.
Yeah, it's coming together pretty well.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is an awesome start, and like the phone call I had today from a lady, Landcare Armidale, who runs that. She was super excited about it and really keen to support it, and emailed me some contacts at Armidale Council and a couple of contacts at other adjoining areas as well. So it's there's plenty, like the network spreading, which is really good. She also indicated, and we might get onto it, I haven't mentioned it to Simon, or that even with BirdLife Australia, the contacts there, to get them to sort of highlight it again. And obviously they've targeted, highlighted the black-throated finch a number of times, but she has a few contacts who might be able to sort of get it moving for us there, because the three of us can't do everything. We've got to kind of get these other people in the local areas. That's sort of the aim, in a sense, isn't it? As much as good as it would be if they found them, to get people in that whole area just motivated, and find a couple of people who are going to champion it for us, in the different council areas, would be brilliant, because then we can do what Simon does and sit back and chill and watch it happen around us.
Well, if everyone didn't keep getting so old, I wouldn't be so busy with my new job. So, like one old gentleman said, the problem is we live too long now.
Yeah, he's probably right.
But anyway, hopefully we've still got a few good years left in us, which we can use wisely with enthusiasm.
Indeed.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, Maddie. So I'm going to love you and leave you all, because I have another appointment at 8, and I can't miss that. So cheers, guys.
No worries,
good.
Steve.
Perfect timing, right on the dot. Thanks, Steve.
It is. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
See ya. All right, so next point was that our AGM, typically it's in September every year, but because of the uncertainty with COVID and like the constitution update and everything, we've just pushed it back to next month, and we will go ahead with it on Zoom, because at this stage, I don't see us coming back to in-person meetings for a fair while. So we will discuss the AGM at the next meeting. There was a little bit of an update in the magazine, but that's gone out. I think it went in the mail on Friday, so it should be arriving now-ish. Then the second point as well on that is that in the October meeting, we will move a motion for the new constitution, the draft that we've been working on for a very, very long time. A very big thank you to Don, who's done many, many edits, especially in the last few days, checking all my spelling errors and making sure it all looks good. So it should be on our FSA website either tomorrow or probably tomorrow. I've emailed it off to go onto the website, but we're just waiting for it to be uploaded. And then that way I will send a link out to all the members, our financial members, to read through the draft, make any changes, let us know of any thoughts, changes, questions, clarification, anything like that. And at the next meeting, we will need, I think it was a 75% vote on it. So we're still getting a substantial amount of people on Zoom. So the committee discussed that it was still fine to go ahead with the vote via the Zoom. And in the most recent magazine is a bit of a cover letter with all the main points of things that have been changed. Have I forgotten anything, Sam? And I think Don's on here as well. Anything else?
Don, are you there? Maybe. Don, can you unmute? Not sure. Not sure if he can't unmute or he's I've asked him to unmute, but it doesn't be responding.
Yeah, it says he's there, but
I guess if anyone got any questions, they would be speaking up now, would they, about the Constitution?
Yeah, I'm trying to speak, Sam. I pressed the key and it wouldn't work, but I think I've unmuted myself.
yeah.
I've been speaking to Don a little bit about the Constitution. He's not feeling the best at the moment, so he's listening in. I'm sure if we say anything we shouldn't, he'll let us know. I guess the main thing for the Constitution is if you're really interested in it, you need to look at it on the website because that's where all the detail is. The story in the magazine is about how we did it and what we did. It hasn't got a lot of detail about the Constitution, but essentially it's very similar to the Constitution we did have, but Don's brought it along and updated it so that it's now complies with all the current legislation. For the next meeting, we can vote on, it doesn't have to be at the AGM, it just has to be at a meeting. And so tonight we are giving the 21 days notice that we need to give before we vote on the Constitution. And the vote will be for financial members only. And we need 75% of the attending members to vote in support of the Constitution. So I guess Sam will need to creatively think about how he's going to, so maybe next meeting, only people on Zoom will be financial members. And then...
well, let's hope it's unanimous and then there's no problem.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, or maybe it's better to count than the people who don't.
I think the ones on Zoom, usually everyone is a financial member because I only email the link to members.
Okay, well, that makes it easier. So that's basically what's going to happen. And as it says in the magazine, if you really want a copy, we can send you a hard copy. But and I'll contact the secretary, who's me. If you do contact me, I'll squeeze you and say, "You sure you really want a copy of this?" And then I'll print it off and send it to you. Because I don't have hundreds of copies sitting on my desk, and I would encourage everybody to read it online. Save the trees.
Save the trees, but typically, isn't it best to not read it and then complain about it later?
Well, that works too. As long as it's after the vote, it doesn't matter then, does it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an exciting read. I'll give you that. If
Yep.
you're bored, you know, you want some cheap entertainment during your COVID lockdown, reading the Constitution doesn't get any more exciting than that.
I think you just take it to bed if you're having trouble sleeping. A couple of pages, you'll be asleep in that time.
That's right. No need to go down the chemist for sleeping pills.
I'm sure it was a thankless job. Having read a few constitutions in the past, well done for doing it.
Don's done a great job there, and we do appreciate it.
Yes, and there was.
Yes.
You're right, Simon. There was we were overwhelmed with volunteers to help with drafting.
Yes, I must admit, I'll be quite glad once we can finalise it. I think we've been working on it or talking about it for at least since I first became president. So it will be quite nice to finalise it and we can move forward, hopefully with a unanimous decision.
I'm not sure if you're aware, Maddie, but there was a drafting of the Constitution happening by the president prior to me. And it came in, and I don't know, there was some argument about it, and I said, "Oh, for God's sake, I couldn't be bothered with this." Put on the too hard table then. So yeah, good job that you've got it done some 10 years later or whatever it is.
Better late than never. We got there in the end.
Yeah, so you better bloody well vote in favour of it, you people. There'll be a-holes like Simon Deggett who'll vote against just to stir us up.
Oh, I was just thinking of a few people I could get back to join up.
Yeah, great. Bugger off.
That's all right. I'll make sure they can't join until after the next meeting.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll be running the Zoom, so I won't. We'll have a waiting room again next month. And I'll
Yes. Well.
Okay.
Next point is the renewals. Did they go out in this magazine, Sam, or will it be the next magazine? I can't remember. Next one?
I can't remember. It's certainly not this one.
Not this one. All right. So they will go in the next magazine and are due within from now till January. So just to think about that if you'd like to renew your membership. And then Sam, did you want to talk about the registration scheme, the new one?
Indeed.
We have a bit of a group discussion on it.
Yep, I might. I'll share my screen
stop
and just show you what it is first. So you guys actually have probably heard more than anybody else about all this over the years, because I bore you with stuff about Parrot exports. Essentially, that's where this has come from. So this site that you can see there, and I'll in fact I'll grab it and put it in the chat, the link to it. That's I will in a minute anyway. It doesn't seem to want to let me do it. Well, oh, hang on. No, here it is. I'll whack it in the chat to everybody. Just a sec. So I can find where's everyone in meeting. So that link that I'm just putting in the chat, if you click on that, it'll take you to this page. So essentially, they've come up with this brilliant idea that everybody is going to have to register potentially all their native and exotic live birds with Canberra. The reality is it will be only the CITES birds. Now, in terms of CITES, you've got all parrots, every single parrot species, except for budgerigars, cockatiels, Indian ringnecks, and peach faces. So every other parrot is listed on CITES. So potentially this would mean every time, whatever, a scarlet-chested parrot in your finch aviary, or a Burt parrot or something in your finch aviary, or I don't know, a lot of you got other parrots as well, lays an egg or it hatches or something, you're supposed to fill out a piece of paper or whatever, something online, and tell Canberra about it. Imagine that. That's insane. In terms of finches, there's a number that are on CITES. The red siskin is the only one that's on Appendix 1, which is the main, for the really endangered stuff. You've also got Java sparrows are on Appendix 2. You've also got the black-throated finches that we're talking about, the southern subspecies of those. They're on Appendix 2. and you've also got green strawberries, and then there's a few others as well, but they're not like, obviously green strawberries. There's only a couple left in Australia as well. So they're the main finches. And I guess the reality is, if that was to happen, it would be an absolute disaster for those species. Nobody would bother keeping them anymore if every time you bred one you had to do that, or nobody would do it. Is the reality. Just like our New South Wales system at the moment, where, you know, how many people actually do the paperwork accurately? How many people have actually got a New South Wales native animal keeper's license? So the whole thing has become insane. It's basically come about, I guess, because of the push for imports and exports. And they've gone and looked at it and said, oh, hang on, we've got to keep track, and we've got to work out where birds came from and all this sort of business if we're going to allow them to be exported. So you end up with this sort of a obscene proposal. Now, I'll give you, I want everybody to fill this survey out. So when you click here, you know, you go to the survey, and you can go and read all this later. But the survey questions sort of, I wasn't that concerned, because I've had a number of meetings with Laura Timmins, who's the head of wildlife trade in Canberra, and with the group that are doing the consultants that they've got, Think Place, and they're pretty sensible people. And in fact, there's a bunch of us from all over the country who are meeting with them. I've organised a meeting on Friday afternoon at 4:15, obviously online, with those people from Canberra. We've got people from, including Gary Fitt, we've got people from Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia. Sorry to people in WA and Tasmania if there's anyone online. I haven't managed to find somebody in that time, but you know, you're used to being ostracised by the eastern seaboard anyway, so it won't bother you too much, will it? But I do apologise if there are people from WA and Tasmania. We would like to include them certainly in future meetings. So if you sort of look at the survey, I'll just tick this written response to each question, and that as well, so everything comes up. It's once you get into, you know, this is just saying who you are, but if everybody does this, what I recommend, because the way these questions are worded, you can probably read them and, you know, go away and do it in your own time. They imply that it's a good idea to do this, but how would we do it in a practical sense, sort of stuff. They don't say, do you think this is a stupid, dumb, ridiculous idea? So what I'm recommending people do is, for each of these questions, just essentially, you know, look, ignore the question. Don't worry about what the question says too much. Instead, just sort of write things like, you know, a national registration scheme makes no sense at all. And then follow that up with some sort of, you know, because it will not prevent snuggling, or a ridiculous proposal, registering all birds is a waste of taxpayer funds, you know, stuff like that. Just do that, so that it's clear that you don't get wound up in, what technologies can underpin a national registration scheme. Look, you could talk about the DNA parentage stuff that we're talking about, but I'd say to the general public, don't get way down in all that crap. Just write for every question, national registration scheme is stupid. You know, there's hundreds and thousands, millions of birds in the country. Compliance would be impossible, uneconomical, and pointless. You know, write stuff like that. No need to register all birds when it's only export that's an issue. Dead against a national, you know, registration scheme of any type. You know, just write that as the answer to all your questions. And if everybody does it, you know, and a lot of you on Facebook have probably seen the posts that Federation's been sending. If everybody just does that for pretty much all these questions, it will make a huge difference. It will make a huge difference. And the thing that scares me about this survey, I guess, more than anything, is that if the kind of animal rights liberation nutters get onto it, they'll think, isn't this a brilliant idea, because this is it's going to shut down agriculture, basically. If that happened and you had to register all those parrots and all those birds, people are just going to collect stamps or something instead. You know, it's all too bloody hard. Or more likely than not, most people won't even, there'll be no compliance, so it'll just be a joke, like the old Nebris was, really. Most people just didn't give a shit, never entered the system and never will. And there was no compliance to do it. but nevertheless, it is important, and it's at the moment this is up until the 17th. They've kind of agreed that they'll leave it up a little bit longer because they haven't really given us it long enough. I mean, obviously, Federation and various other representative groups will put in, substantial submissions, and I've kind of got one sitting here, that we're working on, and more here for Friday's meeting and all the rest of it. But the important thing for the general public is just say, fuck off, this is a dumb idea, essentially. How ridiculous. Are you mad? Just answer like that. Don't get wound up in, because when do you know what I mean? When you start trying to explain and answer the question directly, you run the risk, unless you're very careful, you run the risk of sort of implying that maybe it could work somehow. And that'd be awful. If you want to sort of, if you're interested enough, and I get that most people just kind of want to go piss off and leave me alone, and this is my hobby and I love it, and I'm not filling out any paperwork, and that's absolutely great way to answer. If you're interested in more detail, go to Federation's website. So I don't know if you can see that, you probably can't. Go to, in fact, I'll show you. Go to, oops, what have I done here? Go to, I'll open a new, sorry, the Zoom window is kind of covering my little plus, and I'm using a Mac, which I don't know how to use. ccbfa.org.au. Why does it say can't reach us? Can you still see me? It's come up now. Okay. And then go to the Documents tab. And there's a document there. So that was, I think Maddie might have essentially emailed that, but there's a bit more in that than in the email that I sent. So that's got some, a little bit more detail if you're so interested. But look, on the whole, for most people, get everyone to just fill it out and basically say, no, that's not happening. Stuff like that. Don't be ridiculous. This is my hobby. This is what keeps me sane. This will destroy it, and do all that. That's really the best answers, I think, to all this. I think Murray's online, is he? He might want to. Murray's coming to the meeting on Friday. Do you want to throw in a little more detail, Murray?
Well, I guess from when the ThinkSpace is the company that had interviewed a few people on behalf of the proposed scheme, but when they spoke to all of us, they never really mentioned that a scheme had actually got off the ground, or that it had gone this far. So Sam and I, and I'm sure everyone else who was interviewed, were shocked that they're talking about even these questions that Sam's talking about now. It's like as if it's a given that there's going to be a national registration scheme, and we were surprised because the questions that we were asked and the information we gave, we sort of had a false sense of security, if you like, that they heard what we were saying and were on our side, so to speak, and then turns around and we get this questionnaire to fill out. So it just makes you wonder. Well, it doesn't make you wonder. Who in the background has been pulling some strings to get them to talk about a proposed scheme as if it's actually going to happen. So as Sam says, I think if the more people that can get on board and answer each question, like why would you want to go ahead with such a scheme? I think if they're bombarded by 99% of agriculturists rejecting it, well, they're going to have to stop and think.
Indeed, I think in the previous meeting, I likely explained our sort of what we put to them, which avoided the necessity for any such scheme, based on DNA parentage testing, and I organised. I think I might have mentioned it the last meeting as well. I organised Simon Griffiths, who you're all aware of, and David Groth from Curtin Uni. to explain the viability and both in terms of science, in terms of it holding up in court, and also in terms of it being economical, of DNA parentage testing being used only for birds that are being that are intended for export. So only if you want to export birds would it be used, and that's it. No other bird needs to be tested, because all Australia needs to prove to it really is that the birds were bred in captivity. So the DNA system that we've, and there's a whole document here that goes on and on for pages and pages explaining the detail of how that would work in a practical sense and also in a legal sense. That sort of is what we're recommending. But and you know, look, you can say in your response that you totally support that, but that's not the crux of what you need to answer. The crux of what you need to say is exactly what Murray and I have just said: is bugger off. This national registration is a stupid scheme. The alternative to it that we're offering, well, obviously we want everybody to support it, and at the last Federation meeting, everybody did support it. And there's widespread support, and we'll certainly be talking about it on Friday. But essentially, I think opposition to the national registration of, or for normal hobbyists having to register their birds with Canberra, regardless of whether it's all birds, half your birds, some of your birds, just the because even if you look at endangered species, you've still got scarlet-chested parrots. There's a whole heap, black-throated finches, etc. The siskins, and there's other diamonds are threatened in some jurisdiction. Diamond sparrows are threatened in some jurisdictions. Starfinches in others. The whole thing just becomes crazy. You go from a stupid state system to a potentially even more ridiculous national system for no real purpose. And of course, there's princess parrots, and there's a whole heap of parrots that are very common in aviculture that in the wild are threatened. And obviously, if you make people register those, you've just then said that's the death knell of them. No one will want to keep them. Probably Andrew or Debbie are online. I think they'd agree. Soon as you got to get a license for a species, they'll never sell them. They'll be lucky to sell any. And therefore, there's less of them in captivity, and therefore, over time, if they reduce, that can surely only create an incentive for people to go to the wild to trap them. If there's none in aviculture, whereas at the moment they're super common in aviculture, no one in their right mind is going to bother going to trap a scarlet-chested parrot, for God's sake. Why would you do that? Any questions about any of that?
Sam, I've got a question. I've got two, actually. I don't understand why the federal government is getting concerned with this, because I thought the states had control over wildlife, not the feds.
The feds have control over the international border. The states only have control over the keeping of the animals within their jurisdiction, within New South Wales.
Okay.
So this is all about export and potentially import. And I would, as Murray implied, I won't name them right now who they are, but this has come about as a direct result of the big value parrot people who wish to import and export their birds, and in particular, they do not wish to have a DNA system involved in that, because that will expose the smuggled birds that have already come in. It will expose potentially poached birds in some cases with native birds. So they see this as the answer. Do they see for all birds? Possibly not.
So Sam, you might have what, 3% of aviculturalists, maybe less, 2%,
1%
actively export birds, yet the rest of us get caught by this giant net, and you've got duplication of legislation.
Well,
so poor Mary down the street who's got a canary has to have her canary registered.
It's sorry to laugh, but it sounds ridiculous to even say it, doesn't it?
It really does. But I've actually gone through the government's papers here, and I can't find anything saying they expect every bird, every aviculturist to license their bird. You've got a couple of motherhood statements, a national registration scheme for native and exotic live birds, but then they go on and say for the export of native and exotic birds.
Exactly, and that is
ambiguous.
Like when I spoke to Darren, who's the head of the Think Place consultancy. Look, in his defence, he did say, look, when I go back and look at the survey with new eyes, I do actually accept kind of what you're saying, Sam, that the way it's worded is not, you know, it's rather extreme and misleading. And I hope that that's what it is. But I do know that some of these bigger parrot mobs want to get this through, no matter, you know, and even a watered down version of registering, you know, only some species, only threatened species, for instance, or only threatened native species, or only listed CITES species. Any of those options are just a complete disaster for the average hobbyist, and for aviculture, and to my mind, pointless, absolutely pointless in terms of stopping smuggling and poaching, which is what CITES and obviously our border controls are supposed to do. I would see Brian there nodding. Is he going to say anything or not? I think you did the opposite.
Yeah. If this scheme goes ahead, I don't think you should make any assumptions about what species it will or won't cover, because if you look at that document that you've circulated, it talks about species are generally required to be certified, and it says it has to be satisfied that all state and federal state government laws are complied with as well before it'll issue an export certificate. So with those few words and the right person formulating a new legislation, it could very easily cover every bird in the country. So you might think it's going to be just the CITES listed birds, but it could very easily become something a lot more inclusive. So I think we need to be very wary of what could go ahead, and the best thing is for the government to realise and remind them what the last scheme they tried, how ineffective that was, and this one won't be any better. And the DNA testing is the way to go, and they need to catch up with the scientific reality of the world.
Yes, and the DNA testing system, if they go through with it and with the changes to the law that we recommend, will potentially, and there's a lot of hurdles to jump still, mean that the ability to export and import is accessible to all of us. You know, I mean, it still won't be cheap, but it will be possible for somebody who's got, you know, some turquoisines or something to export half a dozen pairs to their friend in Germany and have him send half a dozen pairs back.
Or some cinnamon scarlet.
Once you get it that accessible, where that only costs you $1,000 or something, then you stop the smugglers.
That's different to the commercial scale export that these big blokes want.
That's the end game here for CCBFA. As far as I'm concerned, the commercial scale people go to buggery. But look, let's not get bogged down on that, because that's a side issue. The issue here is to stop the national registration of any of our birds for general hobbyists at all. Any at all. There's no need for any of that at the national level. That's
correct. And it's very important, if I could say something,
yes, Tom,
that we support Sam in that everybody should reply to this survey and should reply negatively to it, because you don't know that they're going to just limit it to CITES species.
Correct.
You don't know what their real game is. When these people look at the different species, They consider what they see as pest potential. And that goes far beyond CITES. So these people cannot be trusted. They've tried this before, and we need to make sure that we all are very negative towards this survey and let them know, pass the message on very bluntly. Thanks.
Tom, maybe you want to, I was going to just mention the previous NEBRA screen, and I know because Tom sent me a bit of a summary of it. Basically,
we've had lots of talks.
Yeah, just what I mean. If people don't believe that this is going to happen, the reality that was every exotic species in Australia was effectively covered by that. I mean, people didn't bloody do it, but that was essentially what it was. Not...
Well, that's true. What happened was that import was going quite reasonably, and we'd had a number of Parrot consignments come in, and then someone decided in the minister's office that, hey, we don't really know what's already here. And so the Nebris was hatched, so to speak. And they put it forward from an old idea 10 years earlier, which was called the Vertebrate Pests Act. The Nebris scheme was supposed to cover all species. But in the end, with a lot of discussion and carry on, quite a few were left off. But the few that were left on in our area were the chaffinch, the green strawberry, the violet-eared waxbill, and a few others. I think the orange cheek may be. Now, they all suffered. They all suffered because they had to be registered and licensed. But what happened in the end was that over the following 3 years, the authorities kept whinging that nobody was registering. And in all they got over the whole of Australia was 417 registrations. In the end, the rumour has it that somehow all their Nebris records went missing. But Nebris suddenly just hit the ether and disappeared. I know there was still some controls over some of the imported parrot species, but Nebris itself had gone because they couldn't handle it. Okay, is that what you were looking for, Sam?
Yes, that's perfect. So I guess the point is they've done it before. So we might all think, oh, they would never do that. Well, that's what they thought before, and they did it. Now, yes, Tom's correct. I think it was 2002. The thing was wiped in an instant by the new minister. Looked at it and was like, "What the hell? $1 million is being spent on this crap. Let's wipe that." And that is when they changed. What was also when the current EPBC Act came in, which replaced the Vertebrate Pest Act, and they also at the same time brought in this other thing, which is a fight we'll have one day. This reverse onus of proof that is in the EPBC Act, which says that essentially, look, to be perfectly honest, they could do it with cordons or any exotic finch. So, I mean, it is kind of targeted at hyacinth macaws and all that, but they can essentially come to your place if they wish and say, you show us proof of lineage back to legally imported birds. You show us that you are obliged to show us the proof, and you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. That is the way the law is at the moment in that EPBC Act, and that was flicked through at the same time as there was the list came out, I believe. The electioneers, the government always go, oh, cut red tape. Well, cutting Nebris was one of those, 20 list of 20 or something that the new government in 2002, don't even remember who they were. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this. And this $1 million Nebris scheme that was a complete disaster was wiped, which was good. And instead of that, we'll have this reverse onus of proof thing that got, generated by some bright spark in the minister's office, and the bloody parliament passed it. But that's a fight for another day, because the reality is I only know of one person who's ever been done by that. Simon knows him too, I think. Was it Dollar Bill? Anyway, fell on his sword, and to be perfectly honest, he probably deserved it from everything I've heard, but I don't know the facts of the case. But if the reality is, if he'd kept appealing and gone to the High Court, every legal person I've ever spoken to said, oh, they'd wipe that out in a flash. And I believe even the local court or district court judge said, what's this reverse onus of proof nonsense? How the hell?
He actually didn't get convicted in the end.
I didn't.
No.
He got off on a technicality, and so did Cookie. And it was actually only the B man, Norm Collins, I think, that had birds taken and permanently confiscated by the authorities in that time.
Because during that time there was, and there are some people who are members of this club who had officers come to their aviaries and search their aviaries and look at birds and ask them for paperwork to prove that they had them legally.
Yeah.
And I thought, bloody hell, this is sounding a little bit like, communist Russia here.
And a lot of those blokes couldn't tell a Saint Alita from a red brow.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not, I accept that some of the people that they went and searched probably are smugglers and poachers. But boy, oh boy, to have a reverse onus of proof in a democracy like Australia is
But see, they never crossed their T's and dotted their I's, and this is their problem, that they don't know. But with my understanding with Dennis Cook in Victoria was they served the warrant on the wrong property because he had 2 titles and the aviaries were on the other property. So, and that was the technicality, as far as I'm aware, that got that thrown out of court.
Were they waterfowl, were they?
He had parrots, a lot of parrots.
Oh,
as well.
right. Yeah.
But the reality is, I would hazard to guess that there are, I don't know how many people are online now, and there's a reasonable number on YouTube as well. There might be 50 odd total of us. I would be surprised, or maybe there's a few people who don't have any exotics. I would say pretty much all of us have a number of exotic species. And I would be very surprised if very many of us had any paperwork whatsoever in terms of sales, even where you bought the things from, in terms of exotics. So we are all guilty. And according to the EPC Act, we can't prove the lineage of those cordons that you've got, or whatever the hell it is, whatever exotics you got. We should all be put in jail. So, it's that absurd, that law. But I digress, because that's not really the point at the moment. And then I can see the Brinkets coming up there. They're the biggest criminals of the lot. Look how many exotics. Should throw away the key.
Where do all our exotics from?
All right, Dan.
Hey,
Time to
can I
move
say
on,
something?
mate.
Yeah, go, Deb.
We've had enough. Move on.
So it's national.
That's why we give out receipts too.
Oh, well, that's why we give out receipts too, yeah. So it's national.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So what
issue.
is this? Why the other stuff hasn't been signed off on yet?
No. I think the national parks people, if they know about this, that they would have only found out about it in the last week or so.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
And
what
what's happened at Brisbane and
about Brisbane and all that have taken everything off of license?
No, it's not. Look, there was talk, I think, when. And some justification when they wiped Nebris that they'd somehow let the states take it over, but I don't understand that. I think that's a furphy. The states are responsible, and Brian will understand this better than I will, having worked in quarantine. The states are responsible for the birds in their state and the borders to their state. The federal government is under the Constitution 100%. That's their problem. The international borders, and this is about international borders.
In the 1980s, we found that each of the state governments tried to implement their own version of the Vertebrate Pest Act. Yeah. And in fact, South Australia put one through, but the rest of us resisted. WA got a very bad version of it. So there is potential there in the states. We need to be vigilant there.
Yeah, we had in Australia, in New South Wales, we had a non-Indigenous. I can't remember the name of the act, but it was exotic animal act, Non-Indigenous Animal Act. And in fact, Mike Cannon was the rep on the committee for that previously, but that was dumped when we got our new Biodiversity Conservation Act came into play, whenever that was, 5 years ago or 6 years ago or something. And fortunately, a fair bit of that nonsense disappeared, but certainly there is still some, there's oversight, I guess, of, you know, and I've certainly been involved in looking at the, you know, they every so often, every couple of years, they'll send a list of, these are all the birds known to be in New South Wales, you know, can you check it, and look, to be honest, we look at it and go, yeah, they're all still here, you know, because why would you remove them from the list? But so that still exists in New South Wales, and I think every state, but that's only in terms of New South Wales's borders. And I know even with that nebulous statement from the federal government about the states, I think what Tom's saying is the states basically told the federal government, not our problem, go to buggery. After I said that. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned before, so birds that are being, it'll change the whole dynamics of aviculture in Australia.
It's changed already.
I mean, we know back when the whole birds came off, birds stayed on. Turquoisines were the most affected bird on the list, being kept on.
Yep, and that's like of the devil. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. So, I mean, to have birds that stay on, things that are ridiculous like canaries and stuff like that, because canaries may stay on.
Well, look, it doesn't say they won't, but you know, I mean,
you don't know. We don't know.
There's a world where I can see that any bird that's listed on CITES being on there, and potentially even most exotics. But is there a world where I can see them wanting budgerigars and canaries and cockatiels?
I know, yeah, I know.
I can't see it, Deb, but you know, it doesn't say that they're not. It doesn't say
they're
they're
not.
not.
I know, and that's what the weird thing is. It's a Pandora's box. I mean, who knows?
Let one on, they all go on.
Yeah, when one's on, when one's on, the other one jumps on and says, "We want this on there too."
And even if they,
great world.
Even if they limited it to Appendix 1 CITES,
yes,
the two birds that stand out to me, the golden-shouldered parrot and the hooded parrot, that are quite common in captivity these days. Like at Fairfield sale, there were people struggling to get $200 a pair for golden-shouldered parrots.
Which is
now,
great.
if you ask me, they're the birds that they should be encouraging aviculturists to breed since they're so threatened in the wild.
Yeah, 100%.
Yet if we were forced to register them, well, the people who are only getting $200 a pair now are going to say, why bother even breeding them? And then as they're becoming extinct in the wild, there's no one breeding them in captivity.
Yeah, and you know, for sure.
Exacerbating the problem.
Well, you know, Murray, but people don't want to do the paperwork, they get out of it to not have to worry about the paperwork.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not wishing to bring in a red herring, but golden shoulders are the kind of species that these cartels would like to breed up on to export.
Oh,
so they wouldn't really care about not having them.
Look,
that's a red herring.
Jump
This is common overseas these days.
Well, as a business perspective, we get probably 15 to 20 messages a week asking for us to export birds.
Mm.
No, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Why am I going to take birds away from Australia that we as agriculturists need to build the numbers up in our own country rather than letting them go overseas?
Yeah, agree. That, and in Federation sort of statement about this, we do say, you know, even when the borders, if the borders are ever opened and it's feasible, the one thing we've got to do is make sure that we don't deplete our
own stock. Our own stock.
But the reality is, if the borders open up significantly, you know, and this is pie in the sky, I get that, and it's not going to happen, you know, in the next few years. It's going to take a long time. But if they were in both directions, then it's different. The whole world's different then, because they can come and go, you know. Some bloodlines go, some come in, and same with our exotic species, you know.
It changes agriculture altogether.
Yeah, well, it'll make it you know, well, look, I still don't think too many people do it, you know.
We get requested. We get requested, like I said,
for it, because it's never going to be real cheap.
no, we get requested on a weekly basis of some kind of email or message through Facebook to export birds, right? We can export any foreign bird.
Yep.
Why do I want to export something that we can't keep the numbers in Australia?
It can go out, can't come back.
It can go out, but it can't come back.
Yes, I agree with you, Jeff. Until they can come back, why would you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, but why do I want to bring stuff in that may be potentially a threat to our own species of birds here?
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, there's a lot to sort, isn't there? Before
there is. Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Sam, can I ask a question of you? Do you have any information or research on this DNA identification? My understanding would be that you would need a reasonably large genetic sample from each and every species to be able to compare wild type to our captive stocks. Is that technology truly near?
Well, if you wanted to do that, yes, you would. But that's not what we're proposing. What we're proposing, and the look, there's different quotes, obviously, but to set up the test for a particular species. So let's say we just mentioned golden shoulders. Let's say somebody did want to export golden shoulders, right? For instance,
okay,
using this DNA parenting thing. But let's not say golden shoulders. Let's be less controversial. Let's say there's a new mutation of Burke's parrots that are in Australia. I don't know. I don't even know if there's let's say there's a Lutino mutation or something. Someone someone's mate in London has got opalines or whatever, and they'd like to swap 5 pair, something like that, right? In those, so it's got nothing to do with wild birds. They're not endangered. There's tons of them. They're very secure in captivity. There's no arguments about any of that. How the DNA parentage testing would work. So you have your pair of Burke's parrots, what did I say, Lutino, Burke's parrots, whatever, in your aviary here in Australia, or you might have 3 pair in separate suspenders. Some trusted person comes along, might be a vet, but somebody like a JP or something who's trusted by the federal government comes along and they witness that, yes, they're the 2 parent birds. You take the blood from them, and you also write down their ring number, or if they got microchips, might be that number as well, next to the blood sample. You do the same thing for the offspring that you'd like to export. Those are the samples that are used. They go to the laboratory that the government has contracted. They do parentage testing, which basically compares, like if you imagine the DNA sequence really of mum is, 0 1 0 1 1 1 0 0, a whole string of zeros and ones and random combination, but they're DNA markers. The cock's like that, the hen's like that, and you've got the offspring. Well, if mum's given and they're all lined up, if there's a 0 and a 0 for the cock and the hen, then the offspring has got to have a 0 as well. If there's any case where the offspring's got something that does one of those markers that doesn't appear for both in either the cock or the hen, and it appears in the offspring, then that is absolute proof that offspring is not the offspring of either of those parents. Or
has this sort of thing been tested in law anywhere in the world?
Well, yes, it's used all the time. Like rape victims have been released from jail.
Yes, but the human genome is by now well done.
No different to that. And we've had 2 scientists, as I said, Tom, we've had 2 scientists confirm this. It will cost to set it up, for instance, for Burke's parrots, will cost somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000. So for each species, there is a charge. After that, we're talking about $20 to $30 per test, per parentage test.
Well, that answers my question.
You're exporting 6 birds. You're potentially up for by the time the government gets involved, probably be $50 a bird, and the $1,000 will be $10,000. But that's it's just the system is as secure and simple as that. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
You.
Yep, good on you.
Any others on that?
Sam, just one last question: is DNA parentage testing being done anywhere else in the world?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
On the
not
stick,
sure.
it would be.
It would be on the stick.
Every country is obliged, who's signed CITES is obliged to give a declaration that, you know, or you know, be convinced that CITES listed birds have been bred in captivity before they allow them to be exported.
Only one I can think of is the Sphinx.
The what? Sorry.
The Sphinx.
Sphinx is macaw.
Macaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I
Only
thought
one
they
I
would
can
have
think
done
of,
that.
yeah. For them, yeah.
I'm not sure. Well, I don't know. It depends what that would be. Whatever the
They have to.
deal is.
They'd have to
internally.
for that, yeah.
But see, all those Sphinxes macaws are actually owned by the Brazil. They're not. Well, I don't know. Simon.
Not worldwide, that's right, correct.
Sorry,
Yeah.
they're owned by the bloody. They're not even owned by ACT.
And all our native birds are owned by the Crown.
That's right.
Correct.
Well,
yes.
there's an argument about that too, Tom. That
Yeah.
could go through the courts because licenses were given for people to trap them, and actually ownership passed to those trappers. Now, you know, in theory, all the birds we've got are
Were owned by the trappers.
At Her Majesty's pleasure.
You know. Anyway, we're not going to. Who's got the money
Okay.
to go to the High Court and argue that? And for what purpose?
So Sam, sorry,
I
just
got the money.
sorry, Sam, quick. Do you want me to put letters out at the counter for customers?
Yeah, get them to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put-
Not a lot of crazy.
Seen
Yeah.
my if people have probably seen it, have they, on Facebook?
Some have, some haven't. Yeah, absolutely.
A
Mhm.
lot of them haven't got phones.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
there's memes that would be, you know, and I've got a whole series of them that'll come out over time to push it. But yeah. Well, I mean, the more people that fill it out and oppose it, the better.
More response, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And just quickly, just backing up what Debbie was saying, that with the foreign finch species disappearing overseas with the gene pool, we've been good enough as a hobby doing that ourselves without an extra cause for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Well, that's right, Jeff. And it's, I mean, you can argue both ways, and I certainly have had arguments from people both ways. It's like, yeah, there's an argument to not let any out, but you know, well, it's not going to. You know, there are plenty of finch species, aren't there, that could do with a bit of a boost from some new
Coming in, yeah.
from overseas. You know,
There's a lot of species that we could bring in.
too.
My main point with it is that
I'm the
99.9% of us are hobbyists, for starters. We're doing it because we love doing it. We're not making money out of it. There's national identification schemes for cattle and sheep, albeit sheep is actually a flock-based system rather than an individual ID system. And that's for industries worth billions of dollars to the Australian economy, where it's actually people's profits and livelihoods. This is ridiculous. It's for people's hobbies.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, everyone. So get on and
Do you want me to, I can send out another email maybe, Sam, when I send out the link to the Constitution, I could always just put that in as well.
yes. Thank you.
So I'll send that out in the next few days. But yes, interesting discussions tonight, that's for sure. All right.
Sam,
Yes? Yeah, go.
I was going to say that if you could at the meeting point out that survey doesn't really help the people who are computer illiterate. How do they get to involve themselves in the survey? So maybe you could raise that with them on Friday if they
Indeed.
bring the results up.
And let's face it, there's quite a few, isn't there? I mean, you know, there's obviously,
But it's a lot, yeah. Mhm.
obviously, you know, for obvious reasons, people who are watching this tonight are probably not included in that bunch. But there's a good number of people, like we've noticed it, haven't we, Maddie? That the people that are online at these meetings are not the same people who go to the meetings. Some are, but there's a whole heap who
There's
are
a lot.
online who aren't able. They don't live in Sydney for a start.
Yeah, correct.
There's another 40 or 50 regulars who go to the meetings in
Yeah,
person.
well, if anything,
don't
Maddie, send them to either contact the shop so we'll help them through the survey or something.
Mm.
Yeah, we can do that, and even to get them just to contact like one of us as well, to just talk them through it kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll help them through it if they need be, yeah. Mhm.
I guess if you've got the link, then if they've just got to press on that button, then it might be all right.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
In theory.
There's a whole heap who don't even use the computer, so they wouldn't even be like.
Yeah, well, that's true.
A lot of them don't. Yeah, a lot of them don't. And look, there's a lot of members that aren't here tonight who would normally be at a normal face-to-face meeting because they don't have the computer. They're a little bit computer illiterate. I mean, look, I am too. The kids had to help us set up Zoom.
Didn't know what to do.
Yeah, didn't know what to do.
Why don't you make one a piece of paper explaining what to do and then
Yes.
like
All right. We
Sorry,
might.
Or we just make up a piece of paper to help them through how to fill it out.
or just make a photo on Photoshop or something and then
I'm going to move it.
All right. We might move on to the next thing, which could be interesting. So Jeff put up a very interesting post on Facebook yesterday about a few of his birds as a bit of like a guessing competition to see if you can sex the birds. I know that everyone's kind of got their own like wives' tales or little visual signs that they have themselves to sex the what's it called, like the I don't know what that word is, but Jeff can say it in a second. Yeah, that one. So we thought we might run a little bit of a competition or something. Sam and Jeff were discussing it today, so I might pass it over to them and they can discuss what we were going to do tonight.
Okay, I'll start. So the first thing is this spreadsheet that you can see there. I'm presuming that most people are on a computer. If you're on a computer, this should just work by clicking on the link in the, if you can see the chat, or I did, and while I just have a quick look for those people who are watching on YouTube. For those on YouTube, I think if you're watching on YouTube, you'll need to actually, that link, if you look in the chat in YouTube, you'll have to actually highlight that link and copy it and paste it into your browser. For people who are in the chat here, can you see in the chat window that there's a link there that you can click on? So if you can click on that now and then go to, and it should open this screen that I'm looking at here. And you can see, if you can see on the screen, like there's somebody's got their cursor on that cell there, A1. Somebody's on where Maddie's name is, someone's there, someone's there, someone's there. So just click on wherever you want to do it and type your name, you know. I'll change mine to Sammy Davis, you know, and it should come up. So can people try to do that? And hopefully if this works, your name will just appear there. So just, you know, whatever, choose, you know, click in that cell, say there, or in that one. And type your name.
Hold on, wait, no, it's not giving us the link.
Where's the link? Is that it?
No.
Where's your link?
Where's the?
It should be in the chat.
I've got it now.
Yeah, I
Where's
just
the
posted
chat?
it again.
In Zoom, if you go towards either the top or the bottom of the screen, a little menu comes up and one of them says chat.
Oh, there.
I shall look. I'll grab the link again.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
And I'll copy it again, and I shall paste it in again so that it comes up down the bottom of the chat. Because
I just did that, Sam.
Oh, it's there twice. Yeah, yeah. One
Lucky
of
we
the
got through all the
others.
heavy stuff.
Click on the one that Maddie did because I think it might be more correct. I might have, maybe, I'm not sure whether it works. And then start typing your name in to one of those cells. Just choose a spot and type your name in. And hit enter, sorry. Once you've typed your name, hit enter. Because so far no names are appearing. And I don't know why.
Sam, I noticed at the top right there's update. Do you need to click on that yourself?
What is this, sorry?
Up the top right, I can see on the spreadsheet, the top right corner, just down from the close symbol, there's update in a little yellowy orange coloured box. Go right. Go right.
Oh, no, I think that's his computer.
There.
Yeah, there. Is that what you need to click
No,
on?
I don't think so. That's
Okay.
something for Chrome.
Right.
No, they are coming up. It's just that unfortunately people are typing over each other. Just go down a few more and make sure that your whatever your cursor is the only one that's in the cell. because poor old David Boyd just lost his spot. And if someone else already typed in there, don't type. So at the moment we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh,
Boyd's back.
10, whatever it is, a couple of them. So keep going. And then while people are trying to get that going, try to type your name in. You can go down further if you wish, to make sure you don't dodge someone else. Doesn't matter if there's a few blank spots.
Oh.
Michael's just typed in the wrong spot. Michael Pedri. Perhaps go over to you need to do it in that column A. And then what you're going to do, I'm going to show you a video of each of these birds. Okay, so for instance, if you look where Justin's typed over the top of my name now, smart ass, which is fine because I can't vote. So what if he thinks the first bird's a male, he's going to type an M in that cell. I don't know who's scribbling all over the screen. That's a little annoying. Someone's obviously found where the drawing tools are. And then it will, if that bird is in fact a male, once we've finished, I'll put an M in there and it'll mark. You see, it'll say Justin's got 1. He's coming first at the moment and he's got 1 right. Now, I don't know whether it is a male or a female. We don't know yet. So that it'll update instantly and tell us who's winning. So what we'll do is we will show a video. I wish I could work. Can I get rid of all that drawing scribble that's all over the place?
Should be able to, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
just press
disappearing now.
the clear button at the top.
Do you know how to do it? Can you do it, Maddie? Will it work on yours?
It's gone.
Oh, good.
Can be
I
gone.
might get rid of it.
They're going. There's one more in the
Right.
middle there.
We're getting more names up. So what everybody will need to do is, you can have a guess now if you've got no idea, because they're going to be long tails to start with. There's 6 long tails first up. So if you've really got no idea, you can.
How do I?
But we're going to show you the video of the bird. You're going to work out whether you think it's a male or a female, and you're going to put an M or an F somewhere in this column here, right? In that column, and then we'll say, finished. We'll tell you whether it was a male or a female, and we'll move on to the next. I'll lock that column, and we'll move
do the
on
answers
to the next.
after they're all in, Sam.
Move on to the
As
next.
in, do all the long tails at least first.
Yep. Okay.
Then
Yeah,
we'll
we
save
can
the
do it.
answers to the end.
Yes. Okay, maybe we can do that. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll give you the answers at the end. We'll just go through them. I think first. I think you might be right, Jeff. Otherwise, we'll be here till Christmas, won't we? All right. So I'm going to jump now to the if people can.
Now,
still
there's some
put their
people have
names in.
entered already online, Sam, too.
I can see at least one answer. Just an F for Justin.
No,
Sam,
from
there's,
Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook, there's people that have already entered as well. For
is there?
all of them.
Well,
Sorry?
can those people, if they're watching, maybe come in and whack it in the spreadsheet? Because
Yeah, I think, you're not going
to get 50 bucks if you put it there, unless somebody wants to enter their results for them in here.
I'll have a look. I'll have a quick look.
Maybe worth doing.
Good on you, Maddie.
Yeah, car. All right. Well, I'm gonna jump over then to Facebook, and if I can, and I'll start playing the videos. So this is bird. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Except I'll just rewind back at the start because you need to actually see the bird. So I'm gonna play this bird. This is bird number 1 with ring number. You'll see that number there that appears in the spreadsheet. 1114. So you deciding whether that's a boy or a girl. M or F. These are all Jeff's birds. Renowned for breeding good hens, aren't you? I'm just trying to buy us thing.
They're on Facebook if you have a look.
So that'll do us maybe for. So that's the first bird. So I'll let everybody add their votes for that first bird. That's it. Put an M or an F. not many people voting.
It's impossible to bloody well. You can't get it. I can't get it the spreadsheet. So,
No, neither can
and my name's been.
neither
typed
can
over.
I.
But do you want me to enter some people's names so you can at least see where your name is? You want to
Oh,
be
there
able
we
to-
are.
You can see the spreadsheet, can
I
you?
found
Tom?
it.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
I
there,
found it.
there. Whack your vote in then for in the first column. Justin's jumping all over the place. He's down,
That's the bloody thing.
he's down at number 12 now.
Sam, you might have to do Brian's by the sound of it.
Makes good coffee, but he's a bit of a dead loss apart from that Justin Georgopoulos, if that's who it is. We'll move on to the second one then.
Sam, you might have to do Brian's for him.
Where are you, Brian? You're not there.
Well, I was there, but Justin's
I'll put
talked over me.
I'll
and
put you
now
here.
I can't work out why.
What I'm going to do.
I can see what you're doing, but my cursor won't work.
Did your name just come up, Brian, on yours?
Yeah.
Okay. So put something.
Put an H there.
Put an M. What do you want to put?
N.
M. All right.
N.
I'll put an M for you there.
N, I said.
They are, you're in. Oh, no.
N?
What did you say?
Female. F.
Female. F.
F.
Okay.
Why won't
William,
my cursor
you haven't
work?
got to vote for William.
So we need Justin. Well, Justin's in there twice.
Freaking everywhere. He's just overwritten someone else. Pain in the ass.
And William.
Yeah, William's just lost the spreadsheet.
Right.
I'm trying to
Okay,
find
yell
it.
out then, William. What do you want to vote for that first one?
I was busy looking at the spreadsheet, so I'm not sure. I would have thought at a glance it might have been a female, a hen.
Okay, I'll put a female.
Thank you.
Now, Justin's there twice for some. Are you voting, Maddie, or do you know? Did you get the answers?
I've sent her the results.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll delete Maddie.
Sent her and you the results.
Justin,
Yeah, I got the results. So I'm putting the Facebook ones up. So if anyone did it on Facebook, I'm putting theirs up.
Good on you, Maddie.
Deleting Justin from there. Justin's up here. Justin, are you voting or not?
I did mine on Facebook, so I'll leave it to Maddie.
Yeah, I'm putting yours in, Murray. I saw your name wasn't there, so I was like, I'll put them in.
Justin Georgopoulos, is that you
The
there,
screen
mate?
keeps freezing.
Well,
cool. I think we're ready for the next one.
Let's move on to the next one. This is just like it's just like having a year 9 class, to be perfectly honest. Probably the lower, a mixed ability one too. The second one, 1115.
Yes, this is bird 2.
Bird 2, yes.
Obviously on your spreadsheet.
Is this a trial exam, Sam?
It is, yes. Not sure whether the HSC is going ahead this year though.
Female passing.
Jesus. I'm lost again.
All good? Yell out if you need to keep looking.
I reckon this one
Oh, you can see it.
showed itself quite steadily, so people get a good look at it.
So whack your results in. Right, keep going. I can see most people have done it. We'll speed this up a little bit and I'll move on to the next one. I know there's a delay of sort of 10, 15 seconds to YouTube. So if people are on YouTube, their results obviously going to get entered afterwards. So I'm moving on to the third one now, third bird, which is bird 116.
I think this is the video that it didn't
It's the one where you've
sit
got
still for. You have to go through there. Play the next one down there, Sam, in the comments.
Yeah, I'll play this video as
So
well.
this is the same bird. It was much more obliging this morning.
That's the same bird down the bottom. Play if you can all see that. I won't maximise it because we'll get out of whack with the main screen.
Yes, it actually sat still a few times. I thought it's remarkable after yesterday.
It was, look, I'm not good at sexing longtails, to be honest. I was nearly going to say, yeah, he looks good, doesn't he? But that doesn't mean anything. Righto, let's just have a look. If people so that was, remember, bird number 3. So I'll move on to bird number 4, which is ring number.
Oh, this is
sorry,
the collection of the 3 of them. That's the 3 of them together. I just put on there to show them all together. So you can skip it if you like.
That's that's the first 3 longtails, which I believe
yes.
are all messmates. So and he's obviously got some king quail in the background.
Yeah.
To the next bird. So this is the next nest of longtails. So that's our bird number 4, ring number 1132. I've written that correct here. Yeah, 1132.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know why I can't do it.
Number 4. Yeah, you're a smart bloke, Brian, but technology's never been your thing, has it?
Well, it's bloody, the bandwidth is frozen. The screen's frozen. I can see it.
Oh, that's right. You live out in the Wild West. I forgot about that.
Right. You can fill it in for me. Put F and then M for 2 and 3, will you?
Somebody can do that for you. We'll have time at the end. So you're making a note anyway, are you, Brian? We'll fill it in later.
Yeah.
Michael's got a question mark there for one of me.
Yes, which you won't get any.
No,
you may as well have it.
Right, so you may as well put one in.
Exactly. You'll definitely get it wrong if you put a question mark. So I think we're up to bird number 5. Is this next one?
Yes.
1133. How they did that. Someone's managed to scribble on my screen too. I've got a red mark here.
Yeah.
Is that coming up on everyone's? Or just
yes, it's on mine.
Someone's done that in
It's gone there.
On there.
It's gone now, yeah.
Maddie cleared it up, did she? We've got a technical guru with our president.
Got a canary in the background.
Oh yes, the king quail shut up and the canary's taken off. Quite a good singer, actually. Canary, isn't it?
Yeah, got 5 pairs of fifes there. There's 3 of them built nests, or one of them I expect she'll start laying any day now. Her nest is complete.
So that was bird number 5.
1133.
3. Where the next one will be 1134.
We've got a smiley first there.
I'll check. So here's the next bird. 1134. That's an easy one. Anyone who gets that wrong has got a problem. I'll just check. I'll show you here. I would have at least got 1 out. I would have at least got 1 out of 13. Happy days. Yell out if you want me to keep going if I stop it too soon. All good? So next bird is bird. Oh, sorry, that's all 3 of those.
Collection of the 3 there.
Those nestmates.
Skip that.
So we'll move on to the next species.
These are chestnuts.
Of the chestnuts.
Given the young birds, probably not going to see the rump colour as well at this stage. So I thought, well, I'll just show the width of the head and under the beak.
So this is bird number 7.
Yes.
Everyone made a decision. We'll just have a look. People are a little slow off the mark with that one. Couple coming through.
Not as many chestnut breeders, obviously.
I don't think I've ever kept chestnuts, strangely. But still, if I can give a hint, I believe it's the same as the other nuns and mannequins. Well, that's what I'm assuming anyway. Next one. Number 1118. 118, which on here is of course
Number 8.
118, bird number 8. Let me have a look. And leave it a second for others to fill in their answers. Righto, we'll move on then. So bird number 9, 119, is again, I think that's the last chestnut. And then we're going to move on to
one more after that.
one more, 4 chestnuts, and then there's 3 tricoloured nuts.
Yeah, there's a good a nest of 5 and only lost one of them.
So next bird will be 1120. 1120. Bird number 10, another chestnut. There's a just looking at the comments on the thing there. There's something. And Maddie, you're gonna grab some of these off Facebook, and fill them in. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
the ones down the bottom are from Facebook, but I stuffed up the start. I did hens and cocks, so I got to go back and change it to the letters.
Right.
We'll just get them in first.
Yep. So 11.
You're right. No, you're worth more money.
Yeah. Bird number 11. Just double check I've got that written down. Yeah. So this will be the first. I know that's obviously that.
That's the 4 chestnuts together.
That's the 4 of them. Now my computer's decided that it's going to stall on me. Let's give us a sec.
Wouldn't wonder. Look how many windows you got open.
At least that proves they're all chestnuts. And this is the first of the tricolour done. So 1125, which is bird number 11 for us. All good. Gary Fitz gone against the tide there by the look of it, hasn't he? Bird number 12, another tricolour none, 1126. And 1 to go, lucky last. Bird number 13 on ours, 1127. Let's check that's right. All right, 1127. Right. That's correct. What are we doing, Maddie? We're sticking with $50 for first?
I think so.
How many more?
I'm nearly finished.
We'll give 10. I'll donate $10 for last. Let's give last place $10. Right.
You want to fill in my sheet for me?
It's just as hard to come last as it is to come first in these things, you know.
Yeah. Brian wants some help there, Sam.
Brian wants some help. Yeah, that's the story of my life with Brian. What's wrong now, Brian?
Just fill in the squares for me.
Okay, so you got number 2 is
F.
Yep.
3.
M. Yep. 4.
M.
5.
M.
6.
F.
Hang on, what's happened there? Why did it put a... People are bloody changing them on me.
Now I can guess who it is.
Anonymous Grizzly Bear. Maybe a pain in the ass, wherever you are. It's bloody Justin. What was it? F. What's that? This number 3.
M.
Oh. Get off it, whoever's on it. Yep. And then that was an M.
Yep. And an F.
Hang on. Something weird's going on here because he's bloody all. Sorry, go on. 6.
F.
7.
F.
8.
M.
9.
M. No, F.
9. F. Yeah. 10.
F.
11.
M.
12,
M,
13,
F.
F. Okay, I noticed there's one here that's got a, that won't work. Get rid of that. So is David Boyd having trouble entering? You there, David? David generally knows what he's doing, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Are you still online, David Boyd? Perhaps not. Can people, there's one there I noticed, Jason, you've lost, not sure which Jason that is. There's one missing there, the bird number 10 by the look of it. Then I'm gonna, once, what about we just put a time limit on this? Are you still entering stuff, Maddie?
Yeah, I'm on the last one now.
Okay, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to lock the whole bloody thing then.
I can still set at my end, Sam.
To stop people stuffing around, I'm going to lock them all before I put the answers in, so that people can't change their answers or other people destroy it. So.
I suppose my main point of the post originally was just to show, well, there is great variability in what we see. And I remember having a discussion with Richard Law several years ago. He showed me a particular bird that he wasn't sure, it was a long tail, if he wasn't sure whether it was a male or female, and was seeking a few opinions from people as to what they thought it was, and because he'd paired it with both sexes that he knew of, and was trying to obviously breed from it, but couldn't work out what it actually was. And I've spoken to a few people about how we have probably bred birds, these monomorphic species, we've probably bred birds to be able to sex them easily. So in order to easily get hens. And my first experience with DNA sexing was about 3 years ago. I had a whole bunch of longtails that I'd bred, and I thought they were all males. And I think I had 7 in the holding aviary, and I thought, well, I'll give this DNA sexing a go. So I sent off the results and sent off the samples, and lo and behold, 5 of the 7 were hens. And so I thought, wow, I can sell these things. So I did, and there's a couple of the older ones, like 3 or 4 years old. I gave them away as well, and they were all feather plucked around their necks, and they were the ones that bred straight away for the people that got them, because they were trying to nest in the holding aviary. So I just did this little post to show the value of DNA sexing. It's pretty economical, and if you're trying to breed specifically one bird with another bird, then it's definitely money well worth spent. I use Dr. Groth from Curtin University in Western Australia.
Yes, I've got a video that Adam Fitzgerald put on Facebook that I'll show after we finish this. It's only about a minute long, just to show how you pluck the feathers, because I know that's normally a question that a lot of people ask, is how do you take the DNA sample to send it away? So, yeah.
Have you finished entering everything, Maddie? It doesn't look like there's much happening with the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's all done.
So, okay, I'll just
say the ones Maddie put in don't look like they're on there yet.
No, I can't see them.
No, that's what I thought too.
Spreadsheet. Yeah.
What do you mean? I can see them.
Can you see them on yours, Maddie?
Yeah.
What can you see?
Can you see them now?
Oh, they're down further.
Right.
Whatever Russell's book says.
I was going to say, Sam, you can do a quick tidy up on the.
I will. I shall. I'm going to
delete the rows that
I'm
don't
going to lock
matter.
everything just to stop people, and then I'm going to get rid of the roads that that aren't needed. What's happened here? Hang on.
Maybe should I show the video of the DNA sexing while you're fixing that up, Sam?
Yes, good idea. Good idea. Yeah, do that, and actually, I'll enter the results and stuff too. Although that might look nice to do.
I'll read them out.
Yeah.
Build the suspense, Sam.
Yes.
I'll read them out.
Hang on, I just want to. What's going on here?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Hang on. You share your screen, Maddie.
All right. Can everyone see my
I'm going to Macquarie Uni at the moment.
Yeah, no, I've got your screen, Maddie, with the diamond in hand.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. All right, I'll play the video and it's got sound to it. Adam's talking throughout it, so I'll just be quiet for a little bit.
So a lot of guys ask me how do I do the DNA. Newly fledged diamonds, another 4 out today. So easy to catch as soon as they fledge. So you catch them up, closed leg ring, personalised, 3 forward toes, slip over the leg ring. Sometimes they're a bit fiddly. 3 over the first 3 toes like that. Gently slide up the leg to the rear toe. Pop the rear toe out. Now it's got a leg ring on, closed leg ring. DNA. You hold the wing out. One of the secondary flight feathers, quick yank. And then I usually grab one of the outer tail feathers as well. But by this stage, when they first fledge, the quill's full of blood. It's great for DNA. That's it. Little baby back in the aviary. By the time the DNA results back, babies are independent, ready to go.
So it's short and sweet, but straight to the point. Quite interesting. I know DNA is something that Dad and I need to do, but it's always a bit daunting when you do something like plucking a feather for the first time when you've never done it. You don't want to hurt the bird, but Adam showed how quick and easy it is. And then he said he just puts them in, I think you can see it in the corner there, like a little sealable bag and writes the leg ring on the front so that he can identify it and then send it off, and easy as.
And it is just as easy as that. I grab a couple of tail feathers from each side. As you say, put it in a bag with the ring number on there. I write my number, my name on there as well, and then send them off to Dr. Groth. It is literally that easy.
I think for the peace of mind, it's worth it, considering like what you were saying before, they're very hard to sex these days, and you could miss out on a whole entire season for a bird that you thought was a girl, but it was a boy or something like that. So for the peace of mind, it is useful to use.
My first experience with tricoloured nuns, I'd bought a young half-coloured pair at a sale off a southern New South Wales breeder, and also a spare cock, which was coloured. And then the next sale, the following year at Gunnedah, I bought a pair and then had them together, had various combinations together for nearly 2 years, and nothing had happened. So I had them DNA'd. They came back as 4 cocks and 1 hen. And the 1 hen was the spare cock from the initial purchase. So I paired it with one of the other cocks, and lo and behold, they went to nest relatively quick.
Are we good to?
Yeah, how you going there, Sam?
I'll start reading them out. So number 1 was.
I can read them out. I'll read the results out.
Oh, okay.
You're on my thunder.
Hang on, wait there. A few people lost their. I'll just fill this down. Just a sec. Just so we get results for everybody. There's a few more than what I had there. So they can see their results. Sorry, all right, number 1.
So
sorry.
bird number 1 is a cock longtail.
So you can see the results coming up on the right there.
Yep, so bird number 2 is a hen. Bird number 3 is a hen. Bird number 4, 5, and 6 are all hens.
4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
Hens. 4, 5, 6. So we got.
So 5 of the 6 longtails are hens.
Geez, wow. That'll
And the chestnuts, bird number 7 and 8 are both cocks.
2 cocks.
And bird number 9 and 10 are both hens.
Hen.
And in the tricoloured nuns, bird number 11 is a hen.
Yeah, except I put, oh, what am I doing? I did what you did, Matty.
Oh, sorry, mate.
That's right. That was my fault. I've got it right now.
Yeah. Bird number 12 is also a hen.
Yep.
And 13 is a cockbird.
So looks like the winner. Well, we've got a couple of joint winners, haven't we?
Got a couple on 8, is it?
Got a couple on 8.
3 on 8.
Graham and James and Jason. So perhaps they need to, I don't know. Well, what are we going to do? Split the $50. Let's give them $20 each. What do you reckon, Matty?
$20 each.
And who came last? Looks like last out of the people. You can't really count people coming.
Because
you can't come bloody last. You didn't fill
incomplete results there.
Yeah, a few of the Facebook ones, they only commented on like 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, well, they don't count. I reckon you got to fill the whole lot out. Who filled the whole lot out and still managed to come last?
Ivan's got 4.
That's
and
pretty
so
good.
has
Ivan.
Michael.
Is that last? Is it? Ivan
And Michael as well.
Yeah, but they didn't finish it.
Ivan and Michael Pedry. So we owe each of them $5. We'll give them $5 worth of free raffle tickets. What about that when they come to the meeting?
Don't leave town.
Not going to bloody muck around with $5 for God's sake. The other 3 will need to email Matty there the BSB and an account number for their account, and we'll whack $20 in their accounts. The other 3 winners.
My favourite comment was Tom's. Whatever Russell's book says.
Yes.
Made me laugh too.
I thought it was worth mentioning. That's why I put it in the Excel sheet as well.
But it does show, doesn't it, how relatively crap we are. I mean, there's 13, so you would expect, if you just randomly guessed, to get 6 or 7 right. 6.5
50,
right,
50.
wouldn't it? And the best we could do was 8.
But as I was saying before,
pretty dodgy.
The hen who is the mother of the first 3, I was quite surprised when I got her DNA result back. She's definitely the best hen that I've bred, and she's in the video that I sent to you, Sam, in the first pair. So it just goes to show that, like I was saying before, we're trying to, as a hobby, we've probably been breeding hens the way that we could tell that they were hens, and hence not producing hens that would look somewhat like cockbirds, but they are indeed hens.
Yeah, although if people remember all Richard Allen's long tails, some people I did remove the video in the end, but it was a crazy day, and Bruce sexed them. And look, I'm not knocking Bruce, because those who saw the video saw just how many long tails there were. There was hundreds and hundreds, but once he checked them, there were a hell of a lot more cocks, according to him, than there were hens. And I took a whole heap of them and sold them as cocks. And remember, Richard donated them, and we sold them for $10 each or something. And I took a heap down to Canberra, various places. It's like $10 each. How many do you want, sort of thing. There are a few left over, and I just tossed them in. I didn't have any like parsons or anything in aviary down in my shed, and I tossed the last 3 or 4 that sort of nobody wanted in there, and they bred. So they weren't 3 cocks, were they? One was a hen. They fledged some chicks. So then I wondered, oh, hang on, what's going on here? And I know with Paul Richard that we kept the best, and I don't think this has anything to do with sexing. We sort of kept the best few pairs. I don't know if Richard's online, to put back in his aviary to restart the colony. And I'm not sure if he bred any. And you know what? I think they were all the oldest birds because they were the ones with the best tails and the best colour and the biggest bib and all that. So I'm not sure, but I suspect they were, birds that were past breeding age, unfortunately. And maybe as well, we, of the hens, we chose the best hens, which maybe meant we were actually choosing cocks. At the end of the day, I'm not sure, but anyway. Thank you very much for everyone. I think that was, and thanks, Jeff. That was, a bit of fun.
Quite interesting. Just make a bit different. It's always nice to do something different. In these bit weird times of being on Zoom every meeting again, but if anyone's
I'll put the results. There's a few people asked me about the results on Facebook, so I'll put the results on the Facebook post as well.
Yeah, or share the link to the spreadsheet if you want as well on Facebook. It's not a secret, and it's all locked now anyway, so they can't change it.
I think it proves the old adage: if you're breeding chestnuts, I guess that you can change the old adage, and if you don't do DNA sexing, you put 6 in a cage every time, then you're bound to breed some.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, it shows the $10.
Well, with them, the initial pair that I had was supposed to be a pair, and they proved to be 2 males.
And I mean, for $10 a bird to get them DNA sexed and be sure, certainly beats staring at them for 3 years and thinking, "Oh, bloody pair of useless, aren't they?" They're not a pair.
Very true.
I think so. All right. I think that's us done for the night. If anyone has any other interesting ideas or themes or things that they want to do for next meeting, because we will definitely be on Zoom again, just let me know and we can give it a go. We can always feel our way through the meeting. Usually just wing it halfway through, but yeah, it usually turns out to be a success. So good to see everyone again, and I shall see everyone next month.
Thanks, matey. Thanks, Sam.
No worries. Bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Go and fill out the survey before you leave. Turn your computer off. Do the survey. Do the survey.
Thanks, Sam.
Get angry.
Get angry, yes.
Just send an email out every day till the 17th.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'll get. People think, "Oh, for Christ's sake, I'll fill out the bloody." Yeah, if you can confirm that you filled out the survey, I'll stop emailing you. Yeah, bugger off, Justin. Thanks for destroying the spreadsheet for us, Mum. Very, very helpful.
There's always one.
It's always one idiot, isn't there? Yeah, you were the kid who sat up the back and threw, spitballs at the teacher and all that, weren't you? Betcha. I was bloody chasing.
I've been amused by David Nichols'
screen, I reckon, for the last hour.
David Nichols' background on his screen. There's some grass at the moment, but he had himself on a beach there earlier.
I lost my settings.
You're in the grass at the moment.
Yeah, I'm lost my settings.
You were laying on the beach there earlier.
Yeah, I'll go back to the beach.
How come Ben's managed to be on? I thought you were working.
Yeah, I got home in time to jump on the meeting. It's amazing what happens when there's no traffic on the freeway.
He was bullshitting us, wasn't he, Justin, earlier today? he sent us a photo of a bloody excavator that's all locked up and says, "I'm still working." I'm like, well, it's got like, it had like checker plate things bolted over all the windows.
Yeah, I saw the same one on the golf course across the road from me.
I didn't say it was today's photo. I just said
no one's been on it. No one's been on it
right,
for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still working. He's
Oh yeah, it's been.
We're on me. Hey, Justin.
The photo's got saved to his phone for everyone.
What's happening?
Yeah, yes, bring cats. Do you would like my signature? You want my
Hello,
signature?
how you going?
How you going? Good.
Yeah, up at Greg Hills, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't make it.
That's okay.
I waited for 3 hours, but you said Macca's, didn't you?
We'll meet up another day.
Yeah, you said Macca's, didn't you?
was going to say there's a bloody cafe that advertises in the magazine too. He normally and during real meetings, he gives vouchers out. But notice there's been no real meetings, yet his ad's still in the magazine. How's that work?
Yeah.
His cafe's not everybody open. All he does is
I haven't.
Is the meeting over or is it still going?
Oh, everyone's just
No, the meeting's over.
I've had too much to drink.
Yeah.
I've had a long time tonight.
I want to get a new one. Another
Sam,
one.
what's going on?
Poor Justin. Oh.
Who's the guy on the beach there? David Nichols.
I'm having a bit of a rest.
Why?
Jeez. Where are you? Are you in Bali, mate?
Where are you going?
Yeah, just ducked over for the meeting.
Oh my God.
That's great. It's very calm there. The waves aren't.
Cheers to the grappa.
Oh my God.
See ya.
Good night.
Right.
Show your face, Ben. Show your face, Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
I've only got a face for radio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we're not arguing that. But
Did you say a face for radio or a voice?
that's what we can do next meeting,
Both.
Teddy.
Yeah.
If Ben hides his face, and then what the vote is, what the raffle is that wins the meeting. If you've got a beard, if you've not got a beard, if you've got
I
hair,
look
if you've
pale.
got you've got a moustache.
If you can roll this
True.
way.
Just see. All right, mate.
Okay. I had to duck off and feed baby birds. Sorry.
Is your mic on?
All right, we'll hear from you soon.
Hey,
We'll hear from you soon.
sweet.
Oh my God. She's just freaking yelling.
Oh, no, I'm not.
All right, I'm gonna log off. See yous.
See you, everyone. I'm
Yeah.
going to.
All right.
See you later.
Yeah,
Catches.
it's 20 to 10.
Bye. See ya.